Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. Wes admiring the EA Sports College Football 25 Dynasty hype video. 6 minutes long, very detailed. I saw yesterday that you can have commits verbally commit and decommit. So looks like the recruiting aspect's going to be even deeper. The last game had pretty deep recruiting. But this one looks like it's going to take it to the next level.
Could they not decommit in the old one?
They could not decommit. Once they committed to, you could have, like, because it had, like, the rating of, like, hey, this guy's got this many points towards you, and, you know, you're 100 points ahead of whatever other school, and it would fluctuate. But once they committed to you, they were locked in. But it seems like that's not going to be the case this time around. So think about the number of hours you are going to pour into this game. Add, like, another 5 just for recruiting alone.
Per day?
Like per week.
Per week, okay.
Or per day. Hey, if you want to do that as well.
You know how we were talking about the coaches being out at dinner in the Bahamas and their wives are like, "Can you don't do that with the video game though? Like, don't be at dinner and you're like somehow
Wes,
logging in."
We started off the show. I told Chris, ABC, always be recruiting, right? That is the MO of the best programs in the country, that no matter what's going on, you are always on the recruiting grind. If you want to have a successful dynasty in EA College Football 25, you got to always be recruiting as well.
This kind of looks like you have to recruit your own players, too.
Well,
that's
real.
It says players at risk, and it has a risk of transfer bar.
That's good.
That is realistic.
What if the game was in real time? Like you know how you log into a game and now you're in like the game calendar?
You just got like text messages from
like,
Coach, if I don't get $100,000 by the end of the week.
You have to tell your wife, I'm sorry, I gotta leave our dinner.
My 5-star safety is trying to transfer.
This digital safety is transferring. It's gonna be a disaster. Man.
Gonna be people out there sitting at work like, man, I really hope that kid doesn't decommit when I get home.
100%.
Getting back to our list of the pressure rankings for SEC head coaches, according to Jesse Simonton of On3, Chris, you said, I believe, had 2 that you feel maybe out of place here.
2 to 3. I'm workshopping as I speak. I think I'm gonna throw it in there. Here's one to me: Billy Napier at Florida, listed as high pressure. I think he's extreme. I think he's in the Pittman category.
Yeah. I mean, he's listed second on the list, but is only in the high, which would suggest he has some leeway, which I don't think that he does. He
doesn't.
I think he should be in the extreme category as well.
They got a very difficult schedule. He's 11-14. In 2 seasons, and he comes in on the hot seat. So, if you come into the season on the hot seat to perform, I think you've got extreme pressure.
Yeah. If you're a coach that we don't know if you're going to make it at the end of the season, like Pittman, like Napier, I think extreme's pretty accurate.
Another one is Eli Drinkwitz. Now, he's listed at medium. They were very good last year, and the expectation is that they're going to be very good this year. They're getting some college football playoff talk. Deservedly so. They've been recruiting very well. They return a lot of really good players. They're going to be experienced. They're going to be talented. But before last year, he was on the hot seat. Like, there was some legitimate talk of, like, is this guy going to get fired?
Well, he was Mr. 6-6.
Yeah, six wins. And, rebounded. And, if they have a very good year, then this is a totally fine. But if you kind of look at it and go, okay, well, there's a lot of expectations here. Do you maybe bump him up a notch and say he's got pretty high pressure because people are expecting such a big season?
I feel like that's what they did to Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, they put him at high. Yes.
Lane Kiffin is high, but it's because his expectations are so high.
Because of what he's done.
Yeah, and because of what they've recruited and added from the portal. I will say this. The Missouri situation, like if you're a Gamecock fan who is just like, well, we've lost our momentum. We had 2 years where we exceeded expectations, but now I'm just not sure about where things are. I mean, the Missouri situation is your example of how you can kind of go from kind of middling within the conference to where you're not dead in the water, but you're also not sitting there competing for the conference either. And then, I mean, Missouri just, boom, like the expectations are completely changed. I'll be curious to see that there's always a team in this league that, based on what they did last year, a lot of times based on their finish from last year, a lot of times based on bowl performance or just the general perception of where you were as a team last season, that gets way too highly rated going into the new season. I'm not saying that is Missouri. Could that be Missouri? Do they come back to earth? Do they revert to the mean? Now, I think you look at their talent, like they're going to have offensive ability.
Sure. They still got Luther Burden, still got Brady Cook.
But I don't know. It makes me wonder which team. And when you look at this from a South Carolina perspective and you look at that schedule on paper, it is daunting. But there's always going to be a school on there that is way better than we think they are on paper. And there's always going to be a school or two that's way worse than what we think on paper as well.
Yeah, and Missouri, last year, guys, had a really good season. But you remember 2 of their first 3 games, actually 3 of their first 4, they won by 4 over Middle Tennessee. They beat Kansas State by 3 at home on that, 90-yard field goal by the thicker kicker. And then they beat Memphis in St. Louis by a touchdown. They had some close games. They beat Florida by 2. So if you start thinking about it, if they're maybe they're even better, which is possible.
Sure.
But to your point, Wes, this is still not like a dominant type team, I don't think. And so when you have that, you just may be a key injury away, or maybe you just a couple of those games types of games that I just talked about, maybe they go the other way, and then you're talking about a different story. The other one that I would say I disagreed with was having Brent Venables as low. Now, first year for Brent Venables at Oklahoma at 6-7. Last year they rebounded. They finished top 15 in the coaches and AP poll, finished second in their conference. They were 10-3. And they got a chance to be pretty doggone good, I think. But I don't really agree. I think Jesse put in here low pressure because of the contract extension. I don't think that really lowers the pressure. It might raise it even. Nowadays you're either getting extended or getting fired. And so, maybe the timing of it was a little bit weird. Did you need to give him that extension at this point? Probably not, but agents are agents. They're good at their jobs. And, I just think there's some pressure here to perform. Oklahoma fans aren't going to want to backslide and win 7 or 8 games, especially when this coach has just gotten a new rich contract. So while he's not maybe on the hot seat, I do think there's a lot of pressure to perform to avoid being on such a hot seat going into 2025.
Well, and especially after winning 10 games in year number 2, and you're coming into a much tougher conference. You have a true freshman quarterback, a young quarterback that is unproven but has a lot of hype behind him, much like we see with guys like Nico, as well as the North Sellers, where the expectations are really, really high. So I would at least put him probably in the medium category, if anything else. But I think low is maybe too generous.
Too low.
Yeah.
Low is too low.
But it's an interesting thought. And again, Jesse Simonton doing this for all the leagues around college football, just starting off with the SEC. And again, Coach Beamer coming in at number 5 on his list of pressure rankings.
There is an interesting one in the Big Ten.
There is. There's quite a few interesting ones in the Big Ten, by the way, which he released a little bit earlier on today.
Yeah, also when we come back, an interesting report on the South Carolina-Clemson game.
Yes, we will hit that when we come back. Also get a little bit of Lamont Paris a little bit later on in the show as well. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Tuesday here on The Game.